Celtics Reddit podcast.
Marcus Smart is so good. Tatum. Brown. Got it. Shot three.
Hello and welcome to the Celtics Reddit podcast. My name is Ben Ballas. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Today we've got our two co-hosts, Jackson and Joe, reacting to and breaking down the Celtics' epic 32-point comeback against aging rockstar Greg Popovich and the Spurs. I wasn't able to join them for this one, but they very quickly and very excitedly assembled to get this podcast into your ears. And with that, let's get to it.
All right. So there's a special type of game, bro. It's the tingly game. It's like after the game where your actual blood's been pumping, that you sit down, you can feel your legs, they feel like tingly. Is that something that you've had?
Tingly, yeah, for sure.
Like the real tight ones.
Yeah, the pacing around the lounge room as well too. That's a mark of a tight one, man. Full disclosure, I've been like throwing up all morning. Overshare for everybody, but I've been like dead sick. And I remember that as the lead continued to grow in the first half, it was like the disgust of the performance was outweighing the actual nausea that I was experiencing. And I started to feel a bit better, like just more of just accept it and whatever. Then the comeback starts, and then I just feel this like illness just building up again, and I was like, I don't know if this is good or this is bad, but I mean, yeah, whatever that games like that can do to your body, like there's the full gamut of physical reactions I've had this morning, this afternoon, and yeah, I'm just blown away. I feel vindicated as a Celtics fan because I've only been following this team like 8-9 years or thereabouts, but like all I've had to really hang my hat on historically wise was like Isaiah. A few of his performances,
Right.
Now we have seen live the equal highest scoring game from a Celtic ever, and that is just it's amazing. I'm still getting my head around it.
So Jackson, you feel like you're starting to earn your stripes.
I do.
A little bit, do you?
I do. Yeah, I can now like and go into a conversation with Celtics fans like, where were you when Tatum scored bloody 60 in a 32-point comeback against the Spurs? And I have a story about it, so it's fantastic.
Jackson's like, I was hugging the porcelain god and picking up my offering.
Yeah, whatever I was saying to that toilet, yeah, it heard me and it answered in an amazing way. Where do you even begin to analyze that? Is it worth analyzing, or is it worth just gushing about how amazing this is, just in the grand scheme of just fandom, really?
I think this is look. We can get to some specifics because everyone will want to like ruminate a little on the specifics. But for me, this is a meta game. All right, this is a meta. Yeah. A meta fandom type game, right? So I've been thinking a lot about the difference between hopes and expectations. It's like a rant I've had on the podcast before, and I think this game is a worthwhile reminder about this doesn't really change my expectations for the team going forward, right? Sure. But this is a reason why you should never give up hope, right? And that's how just talking about earning your stripes. You earn your stripes as a fan by like holding on to hope, despite low expectations. And there was no reason to expect to come back from a 32-point lead. Like I regard a safe lead in the NBA as once it cracks 25, it's very rare for it to come back.
Yeah.
So, I think this team, right? Like I said, my expectations aren't really changed. But guess what? The team is what it is. We're not making any trades between now and the end of the season. We're gonna make the playoffs in some capacity. So just get your hopes out, and hold on to them.
Absolutely. And we saw a similar burst of scoring from Tatum last year too, and we've been kind of waiting for that moment to happen. Is it happening now? Because I mean, he had a career high 53 3 weeks ago. Now he's got 60. The way he's going, you wouldn't put it beyond him to match that or get near that again too. So even if the expectations don't change for where you think this team's going, because I think like you can give Tatum like 60 every single night. I don't think we're beating the Nets or the Sixers in a 7-game series. That's a horrible reality that we'll have to face. But when you see performances like that in games that you win, that you have no right of winning, you're right. It does inspire that hope, and there were so many moments where I wanted to turn that game off, but I was like, I've got nothing better to do. I'm sitting here, just the alternative is just go and regurgitate again in the toilet. So I'll cop this because it's slightly less nauseating. But yeah, you're right. Like it just inspires so much hope that not any game can be lost if Tatum, or anyone for that matter, but Tatum really can go off. And if he's got that in his locker and he can produce that down the stretch and in the playoffs, then who knows? You can be that team that comes from nowhere that does it. The Heat did that last year too. So my expectations probably haven't shifted either, but yeah, the hope that it gives you and the inspiration that it gives you and the buzz that it gives you, it's flowing through me. It's flowing through my veins.
I think so I think you're doing a really reasonable thing here, and you're saying, hey,
okay,
look, this is we've seen Tatum do some amazing stuff. Some amazing stuff could happen again. Will it be enough to beat the Celtics or the Nets? Gee, I don't know. For me, I'm like, this is proof that a game is actually an end unto itself, right?
Yeah, okay.
It's not just a means on the, it's a self-contained story. Mm-hmm. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And just because it's, part of a collection of short stories that we call an NBA season, right, it doesn't change the fact that just this game in itself is just awesome in its own right. It doesn't have to contribute. It doesn't have to be part of a championship season, right? This is why we do it. This is awesome, Yeah. And it, to be honest, it completely, it's not that it outweighs other disappointing games. It's that they're in the past, and this is a really beautiful present, right?
Yeah.
And that's in enough of itself, right? That's a gift in and of itself, and it's enough for me as a fan.
Yeah. It is, yeah. And I was just thinking about the games that we've had this season. There have been some anemically bad losses and just moments where we've just uttered despair. But I mean, go back to.
But do they matter to you right now?
No, they don't. They
may as well have not even
don't.
happened. You know what I mean? They may as well not even happened.
You're right.
Hey.
You're right. And I think back, it's I thought I'd be watching that Golden State Warriors game the other week for a while, because that was pretty much one for the ages. Hell, even the Timberwolves game where he got his first career high. He got the 53. I was thinking, even though this season has been garbage, these one individual games, you can go back to and you can say this was a great time to be a Celtics fan. This was a fantastic experience, and it just got topped again. So even if the rest of the season now just nosedives, full disclosure, I'm quite certain we'll probably lose to the who we play next? Portland, by 11 or some shit. That could just happen. It could just be one of those stinking games where it happens, but. Just this game in and of itself, I am going to interpret it as a gift, and I am going to accept it as a gift. So, and I think anyone who's been down on the Celtics quite reasonably over the last, season has to take this game just as a one-off, as one of those historical performances, one of those all-time this is just incredible to bear witness to. So I'm completely with you there, Joe. Getting into more specifics of the game, I am doing my best Ben Vallis impression here, because we're rudderless. We've just got to go. So please jump in.
Ben Vallis, Greek god.
I love those emails, by the way.
That was great.
It's good.
We can't tell you about those emails.
No, certainly not. The game itself, it's probably worth mentioning. I mean, do we want to talk about other performances here, or do we want to continue gushing over Tatum, or just what the game was about?
No, man. You take it. I have I have a few bouquets to hand out.
For sure. I guess let's specifically talk about Tatum. Just in a vacuum of itself. Do you feel like Tatum is becoming more of the player that you expect him to be, or do you think a performance like this actually sort of puts him a little bit higher than what you were hoping you could be? Because we're in that headspace where you can get this level of excitement, right?
I'm in a funny place on Tatum.
Okay,
so it almost sounds ungrateful in the wake of a 60-point game and a 32. And a 32-point comeback. For me, what I saw of Tatum tonight was more. It's not like a skill thing. I was very pleased that he He was clearly making an effort to get into the paint. In my view, his worst habit is his reliance on the sidestep three when we don't need it. There's circumstances where I do like it. Like, I would have been fine with it at the end of regulation.
Yeah, that's funny because I wouldn't been, but sorry, go on.
Well, my reason for being fine, it's circumstantial, right? Because, like, at the end of the game, the worst thing that can happen is you take a shot and you leave enough time on the clock for the other team to come win. Like, that is the worst thing that can happen. I guess, well, actually, that's probably the second worst thing that could happen. The worst thing that could happen is you could turn it over.
Or offensive foul,
and it's going the other way, you know? Like, live ball turnover is probably the worst thing there. So, but all that to say, for me, I just need to see Tatum putting pressure on the hoop, right? He needs to put pressure on, and he made a concerted effort to do it. So, yay, Tatum. That's great. Now, one thing with Tatum, I'm going to keep harping on this. The dude needs to learn how to finish with his left hand.
Yes.
He
yes,
really needs to do it. He flubbed it awfully. He actually attempted it, so I guess I should be happy about that. But if you notice, he often tries to finish with that right hand, going to the reverse, and it just stuffs up his timing. But anyway, so where am I at on Tatum? I'm like, he's somewhere in between, like, my expectations for him in the future. I'm not quite ready to expect him to be a top-tier NBA player.
Okay.
So this tonight was a top-tier performance of shot making, but I'm not there yet for him with my expectations.
Gotcha.
Where are you though, man?
Okay,
I feel like I just took a big weakness, you know?
Not at all. I guess fairly or unfairly, I think any NBA player, if you are going to put them in that elite status, you have to have the playoff aspect there as well too. Now, Tatum has not been bad in the playoffs by any stretch of the imagination, but
Certainly not.
It's all well and good. You know, Harden's a good example. You know, that could very well could change this season. But like, Harden can have stretches where he is just like beyond comprehension, 50, 60, 45, etc., all throughout the regular season. You get to the playoffs, and if there is any game where it's like it's not what you expect, or it's less of that, then all of a sudden, he chokes. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have this. It's not what you think. So there's like the divide between the regular season performances and the playoff performances. So for me to like fully, you know, I'm putting aside all of this, you know, these tingles that we've experienced over the last few hours to the side and think in a vacuum. Like,
we've got analyst brain and fan brain, right?
Yeah. It's the duality is perfect. I think if we were to see this kind of individual just tear in a playoff perspective, or in, you know, games where, you know, there's really a lot on the line. I know there's not a lot on the line now, but I mean, there's still 9 games after this. You know, a loss tonight is not, you know, curtains by any stretch. But in a game where the pressure is really there and we see that happening, that's when I would probably elevate him to the next tier of like, okay, this guy is not going to be, you know, at absolute best a poor man's Kevin Durant. At best, this guy could be, you know, his own player. You know, he could break free of that. Oh, he's going to be like this. He's going to be like that. So I'm with you in that he's not there yet. But I mean, 60 points, highest score from a Celtic ever, tied with Larry Bird at the age of, he is 23, right?
It's a lot of points.
That's pretty encouraging. That's pretty encouraging. And a 53-point game 3 weeks ago, a 60-point game today, it's a crucial part of the season. Is just you can't help. Well, I can't help but just think that he's almost gone up a tier in my mind. But I do need to see it in the playoffs. Yeah,
I'm not so concerned about seeing it in the playoffs. I'm more concerned with I want to see consistent impact on winning during the regular season.
Okay, sure.
That's you know, like, because not all 30 points are the same. You know, like especially like with the scoring averages being a little inflated right now. Like, Tatum's 25 a night is not the same as Durant's 25 a night. You know, like, it's just kind of not. It's hard to explain it, but there's just this inevitability to the great scorers.
Yeah,
that's not quite in Tatum's. Like, that's not quite part of the Tatum vibe yet. There's not this inevitability to me to Tatum. Like, you know, when you're playing a game against those elite players, you're just like, if say you're within, you might have a 10-point lead at halftime, and you're like, it's not enough.
Yeah,
you know, that's when you know that's a top tier player. You know?
Yeah, definitely. And I guess like semi-related to that, we're familiar with like, he had a quiet 30, or he had like, you didn't even realize he had 30 or 25 or thereabouts. He's had a lot of those games lately where you think he's just below average, and you check the box score at the end and it's like 35, 7 and 5. And, you think, oh, okay, well, I didn't even really notice that. And I suppose he's been symptomatic of having like a lot of slow starts this season. When he hit his first contested, I think, baseline shot to start, I was like, oh, okay, this is probably going to be a good Tatum game, because, typically he misses that and he goes for nothing until the midway through the second quarter. If he didn't do that, this would have been, a 40-point loss perhaps. So him just keeping us in there, and
just keeping us inside that magic 32-point margin that you need to keep touch.
close enough that when Grant Williams hits back-to-back 3-pointers, no one bats an eyelid, because it's just you think it's just for nothing anyway. So I would really like to see how the next few games go. It's very important, next couple of weeks. I think we've got back-to-backs against the Heat. We've got a few East Conference games as well too. So if he can continue this, even if it's not the 60 or this like historical kind of performance, if it can be similar levels of production, then I think we're in a pretty good place for the down stretch. But again, you're right, consistency, particularly over the last 9 games, is going to be key.
Yeah, it's just put up or shut up time, And for tonight, hey, the guy put up.
Absolutely,
he put up like 60 points is that's just top 10.
Yeah,
no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, I as soon as it was over, I switched over to the Suns Utah game, and the first thing that came out of the commentator's mouth as I switched it over was Jayson Tatum 60 points tonight, and the Suns color commentator was like, "Yeah, Devin Booker had 70."
It wasn't a real 70 though.
Yeah, and they lost.
That's exactly it though.
Yeah.
That was garbage. That's not to say that Devin Booker's not a real player, but
of course not.
But like Devin Booker's not good enough to drive winning on that level.
Yeah.
We're not thinking about Devin Booker being one of the all-time greats.
No.
No,
absolutely
he's good.
not.
He's really good, but he's not at that level. So when it comes time to place Jayson Tatum, when I'm calmed down and the blood isn't pumping so much, I don't know where to place him.
Yeah,
I just don't know where to place him in the NBA hierarchy, when he's at his peak.
Well, hopefully the next couple months he very clearly announces himself in that upper tier too. So we shall see. I guess we should probably discuss some other guys, and the first thing that comes to mind, you probably is on your mind too, Aaron Nesmith.
Oh yes,
man, that guy just almost seemingly out of nowhere is become such a contributor. I know he had like a good game last game, and he had another good game this today. And being the I don't know. Like, I'm guilty of just maybe not noticing the little things that he does. I don't know like what you've been noticing of his game or anything like that, but these last couple games, just some of the plays he came up with tonight, some of the hustle plays, some of those rebound putbacks, and the fact he was playing with 5 fouls, I think, like midway through the fourth quarter, and he played like the pretty much. Don't quote me on this. Again, I don't notice the little things, but I'm pretty sure he was in there.
We're recording this, bro.
Yeah, pretty sure he was in there for a lot of the fourth and for quite a bit of overtime too, and he didn't foul out, and he stayed in there and he contributed. So Aaron Nesmith, man, let's hype him up, shall we?
Yeah, it was great. I think so. One of the things I've been railing against is basically lazy threes. Like, I just don't like us taking threes when we can get that shot any other time. I don't like guys taking. Generally, I like decisive threes, but I don't like quick threes when we don't need them.
Sure.
My exception to that rule is Nesmith. Like, to me, that dude is in there to be a flamethrower, and if he catches it and he's halfway pie open, I want him to shoot it straight away. So that's the first thing I'm noticing about him is that trigger is getting pretty quick, and as he does it, it opens the rest of his game up. They've got a play where they run him off a double screen. Run him off a double screen to the top of the key to get a shot. It's sort of a pet play that they run for him, and he hit one tonight and as part of the comeback. And then the next time they ran the play for him, up fake, one dribble to the hoop. That'll open up his game. I just like seeing decisive. I like decisiveness in players, and he certainly seems to me to have. When you feel like you're not going to get yanked straight away. I don't know, Jackson, you feel like you relax and you can just play more.
Yeah.
Play freely and just and not get nervous about making the wrong decision.
Yeah, I feel Pritchard has that. You know, I don't feel like
sure.
he worries about, you know, whether this is a good shot or a bad shot. If he's confident in his shot, he's going to take it. Definitely seen more of that from him, Nesmith. This is the last couple games. So if that is where he is at mentally, like, I'm just going to go out, I'm going to shoot this confidently, I'm in here for a reason, you know, the hesitation is just, you know, is waning, or there's no hesitation at all. That's, you know, even if he's not going to give you the 16 points or the 15 points every night, even if he scores nothing, like, just being out there and, you know, doing his role confidently, it helps the team immensely.
Yeah. So, and offensively, he seems to be suited to be able to do what we want Ojale to do, just because he's that level of shooter.
Good point.
You know, like there's a really good little spoiler alert, but we had a pod with Steve Bullpet earlier today, and he made the point that everyone can kind of relate to if you've played b-ball at any level. It's how hard it is to be Ojale. Like, you go up and down the floor playing defense, hardly touching it, but when you touch it, you got to shoot it and you got to make it, or else you're getting yanked.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever played on a team where you're kind of probably a level above where you should be playing, you know what that feels like, eh? It's just, it's kind of awful.
Yeah.
You know? But Nesmith, he is a shooter on that level, and he's probably, we can probably expect a lot more consistency from him in that role offensively than anybody else.
Yeah. And I suppose, like, given that, I mean, obviously, pivoting slightly here, we all know that Evan Fournier recovering from, you know, COVID just definitely does not look himself. And I know you guys touched on that with Bullpet earlier as well, too. But
we did.
It's good to have someone who is able to fill that role. Because when Fournier came in, he started hitting shots, we thought, oh, sweet. I mean, I fell into the trap of thinking, oh, sweet, that problem's solved now. You know, that's just going to be the guy who is going to, you know, be the flamethrower, is going to have that reliable shooting. It might be a little bit too eager to anoint Nesmith as that guy who's going to be able to provide that to us, but based on the evidence of what we've seen, and based on, you know, the contributions he's making, and that he doesn't look nervous, to step up at a time when we need it is really valuable. It's so encouraging to see.
It's huge.
Absolutely,
it's huge. You know, like we really need someone in that role. We really need someone who can just shoot.
Yeah.
we really haven't made it. And often the issue that you get with those guys, your McDermotts, your Reddicks, your Corvers, or what have you, is they can't impact the game defensively. But Nesmith has a path to being a positive impact defensive player, like a genuine 3-and-D guy.
Yeah.
I guess when I do find myself watching him quite a lot defensively, and I haven't seen any bad rotations lately. They were using him often, I think when he would be checking, I want to say he was checking DeRozan, and often they were trapping DeRozan, like the second guy was coming over to trap DeRozan, and he was recovering. Like, I saw on one occasion they were trapping DeRozan on one corner, and that resulted in a swing, and he absolutely hissed it over to the other side to contest on a shot on the other wing. High effort. He seems to me okay. He can certainly shift his feet well enough that he's not going to get picked on. So, you know, there's a path to him contributing. I mean, if you can knock down shots, it sucks, but, like, that's your kind of... It's like playing defense gives you the right to take shots, but making shots gives you the right to keep playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose in a brief sort of, you know, comparison to someone like Romeo Langford, I know not the same kind of person, but I'm guilty of seeing Romeo Langford brick shots, and I just think immediately, like, what's he doing out there? You know, even though he does contribute defensively, but rightly or wrongly, those shots don't go in, or you have your moment to have a shot and doesn't go in, then yeah, you just think, you know, what are you doing out there? And it can be unfair, you know, on players like that. But, you know, if your game is shooting and you shoot well, or you at least, you know, shoot with confidence, or you play with confidence, then yeah, Nesmith was great tonight. Nesmith was great. Who else should we go? This is what happens when we don't have a producer to guide us. I'm just blindly looking at the box score here, looking for talking points. Anything that we haven't touched upon that you would like to mention here, Joe? I
think some big picture stuff that co-host Larbird has been writing about. Larbird's a real optimist for this team. He's definitely more optimistic than I am. Definitely.
He talks me out of bad moods with his takes too, and I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes I think, oh, you poor, sweet, naive man, Larbird. But tonight was vindication for him, you know. He did want us to mention a couple of faithless fans. User Scrotum McSeaman, which I feel like that's alarmingly close to my username.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be. Is that your burner account for a second, Joe?
No.
Oh man, yeah, man. Look, I think we could probably talk about this forever, but it's important to be optimistic. It's important not to like we said, coming to full 360 here a little bit. Keep the faith. Don't necessarily alter your expectations, but have some hope. And it is very hard to maintain hope when you are having the first half or the first quarter like you had. And I'm guilty of it too. Being like, oh my god, I don't think I should watch this anymore. But if you do stick in there and you do you don't jump to conclusions as hard as it can be, in the heat of the moment with sport, you can see things a little bit clearly, and maybe Larbird errs on the side of optimism a little bit more than maybe what would be realistic. Maybe he may be proven right. He might be proven right, and this team could, explode in the last, few games and make a solid playoff run. I certainly hope so, and I hope Larry can, point us and say, I told you so.
I'm just going through the takes from these guys, and to be honest, like, I probably thought the same things as they did.
Yes, indeed.
So I'm not flaming you guys, but this is just what happens, and Larry's our mate, so I'm going to go into bat for him here. One comment from Scrotum McSeaman: the copes after this game will be glorious. Yeah, I definitely thought that.
Yeah. Oh my god. Well,
some disrespectful air quotes. This is a 55-win team. That's a direct shot at Larry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, the influx of memes that have invaded the Celtics subreddit of I was they're not necessarily high quality or anything like that, but like when it's all doom and gloom, it can put a smile on your face. But like I'd much rather than now see the overreactive, positive, happy, low quality memes than what we had prior. So, man, look,
man, McSeaman, if you're out there, I know you're enjoying it. Come on, deep down, you're enjoying the fact that we came back. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's okay. You can be upset with yourself for having such a take and be excited about a win. These are not mutually exclusive. This is just this is the duality of man. This is the duality of a Celtics fan, particularly this season. Joe, I'm basically out of waffling now. Do you have anything else to say before we call it up?
No, man. Drink it in.
Drink it in. Indeed.
All we have is tonight. So and they're going to suck again at some point in this season. But guess what? Doesn't matter.
It's brilliant.
We're still fans. We're still fans nonetheless.
Last thing I will say, I don't think we touched on it with our Tatum appraisal, but 0 turnovers, 60 points, 0 turnovers.
Hey, I did have one other thing I want to talk about. This is a Larbird comment in the chat thread. He says, JB playing like he's drunk. And I was like, yeah, JB does go into drunk mode sometimes, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. We got him one down Brown for like very good reason, and he missed 2 free throws in like the first 5 minutes, and I was just like, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. And he had a couple of those turnovers where he's like, he's trying to get past his man in the post, and he just ends up like just falling over and throwing the ball away, and it's like, yeah, it definitely wasn't a good game, but huge clutch 3.
Huge shot.
Right.
And he kept.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, man. And he just kept, like, even though he was not playing well, he kept trying to put pressure on the hoop. Like, he kept trying to push the ball. And there's something sort of that does something for the spirit of your team when guys are just going that hard,
Definitely. Probably last thing I will say, too, no Kemba Walker tonight. I've gotten very accustomed to seeing us, very, very spineless and very directionless without Kemba Walker. Certainly accurate for the first 24 and a bit minutes of this game, but to come through and get through that without your starting point guard, unbelievable. Joe,
hey.
I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, man.
Gotta say. All right, cool. Well, we might leave it at that. Thank you very much for listening to us waffle on about the Celtics. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure we'll be back later. Joe.
No, that's not how we finish.
Beg your pardon. Please finish for us properly, mate.
Well, that'll about do it. Bottoms up, Celtics fans.
Ding. Oh my god.